The council chamber on the planet Xerion glimmered under soft blue lights. High above the floor, the alien councilors floated in ceremonial seats. Their faces were smooth and pale, their eyes large and sharp. They were proud, intelligent, and a little cruel. Today their conversation was filled with laughter and mockery. "We must do something amusing with that human settlement," said Councillor Rin, tapping a clawed finger on the glowing map. "They think they are important. Such fragile creatures pretending to be clever." "Fragile, yes," said Councillor Vela. "But let us make this amusing. I have an idea." She looked over her sharp shoulders at the others. "We send Princess Ilaria to one of their men. He will be honored. Or humiliated. Either way, it will entertain us." There was a ripple of laughter. Ilaria, standing quietly near the council chamber doors, folded her arms. Her face was calm, but inside her thoughts raced. She was only 16 by Xerion standards, young but already trained to lead and obey. Her parents, the king and queen, had sent her here for training. "They say she cannot bear children," Councillor Rin continued. "Yes, she is infertile. Let us use this to our advantage. Imagine the human shock when he learns it. The embarrassment will be glorious." Ilaria felt a flicker of anger but held her silence. She had long known the council could be cruel. Still, she did not like being treated as a joke. She did not say anything. Speaking against the council could bring punishment worse than embarrassment. That evening, Ilaria was prepared for her journey. Her small spacecraft glided silently into orbit, leaving the glowing towers of Xerion behind. Stars streaked past as the ship accelerated, taking her toward the outer rim to a human settlement called Ironfield. Ironfield was not large. It was dusty, full of metal structures and surrounded by rocky hills. Humans lived in buildings patched together from old ships, scrap metal, and stone. The council believed it was a poor and primitive place. But as Ilaria's ship descended, she saw order, activity, and a strange kind of beauty. At the landing pad, a human waited. His name was Rylan. He had thick brown hair, sharp brown eyes, and strong hands, evidence of years of hard work. He looked surprised when he saw the elegant alien in her ceremonial robes. "Princess Ilaria?" he asked, his voice steady but cautious. "I wasn't expecting anyone like you." Ilaria tilted her head slightly. "I am sent by my council," she said, her voice calm and clear. "You are to host me." Rylan blinked. "Host you?" "I don't understand. I'm just an engineer. I fix things. I don't host princesses." The princess's gaze was sharp. "That is what they said." "You will learn quickly, I am certain." Rylan forced a smile. "Well, I suppose I will try." At first, the humans in Ironfield treated Ilaria as a curiosity. Children peeked from behind metal walls. Workers whispered as she walked by. Even the robots programmed to clean and maintain seemed to pause when she approached. Ilaria noticed none of it with surprise or fear. She observed everything. Her first night in the human settlement was quiet. Rylan offered her a small guest chamber built from metal panels. "You will need rest," he said. "Traveling from Xerion must have been long." Ilaria sat on the simple bed, her long robes brushing the floor. She stared out the small window at the hills beyond the settlement. Humans seemed fragile, yet their structures were clever. She wondered how they survived in this harsh environment. They used everything at their disposal, metal, stone, scrap, and made it work. The next morning, Rylan led her on a tour of the settlement. He showed her water recycling systems, energy grids, and small farms grown from artificial soil. Ilaria nodded as she observed, noting both human ingenuity and limitations. "You have done well with what you have," she said quietly. Rylan looked surprised. "I thank you. Most people just think we're weak or backward." Ilaria tilted her head. "Humans are not weak. They are clever, resourceful, that is, interesting." Rylan felt a small smile tug at his lips. "Interesting, huh? I'll take that as a compliment." Days passed and Ilaria settled into life in Ironfield. She helped Rylan in small ways, analyzing systems and suggesting improvements. The humans were amazed by her knowledge. Even Rylan learned quickly, impressed by how her mind worked. Yet the council's instructions were clear. Ilaria was to remain infertile and harmless, a joke for their amusement. The princess, however, found herself questioning the council's knowledge. She had never been tested by a human before. She felt something stir, a small curiosity about her own body and about this human beside her. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Rylan and Ilaria worked together on repairing a water pump. The machine hissed and clanged. Sparks flew. Ilaria stepped close, examining the energy flow with alien precision. "You humans think you know machines," she said softly, "but your solutions are often creative, inefficient but creative." Rylan laughed. "Creative is one word for it. Makeshift is another. We do what we must." The pump sputtered to life, water flowing smoothly once more. Rylan clapped his hands, smiling. "We did it." "Not bad, huh?" Ilaria allowed herself a small smile. "Not bad indeed." As they walked back toward the settlement, a group of children ran up to Ilaria. They had never seen an alien like her, and their eyes were wide with wonder. One small boy reached out, touching the edge of her robe. "Are you a princess?" he asked. "Yes," Ilaria replied gently. "But I am also learning from humans. From all of you." The children giggled, running off to tell their parents. Rylan watched quietly. He noticed how naturally Ilaria interacted with humans, with patience and understanding. This was not what the council had intended. Late at night, Ilaria explored the settlement on her own. She moved silently through the streets, observing humans at work and at rest. She noticed how they struggled with hardships yet continued to build, repair, and survive. Each small detail fascinated her. Rylan, curious and protective, followed at a distance. He did not want to alarm her, nor did he want to interfere, but he felt a growing respect for the princess. She was not a fragile, infertile pawn. She was clever, brave, and willing to see the world without arrogance. They met near the edge of the settlement, where the hills rose like silent guardians. "You explore at night," Rylan said softly, startling her. "I wish to see humans as they truly are," Ilaria replied. "Not only during the day when appearances matter. At night the truth is more honest." Rylan nodded. "I understand, and you? You see more than most. You notice things that others ignore." For a moment they stood in silence, watching the stars stretch across the sky. The council on Zirian would have laughed at this human settlement. They would have thought the princess would fail, that she would be humiliated. But here she was, learning and observing, and the humans were impressing her. Ilaria turned her gaze to Rylan. "The council thinks this is a joke, that I cannot accomplish anything meaningful here. Perhaps they are wrong." Rylan smiled quietly. "Perhaps they are. You don't need to prove anything to them. You can just be yourself." Ilaria's eyes softened. For the first time she felt a sense of freedom. She was far from the council, in a place they considered insignificant. Yet here she could make her own choices, learn and grow. And beside her was a human who did not see her as a joke, but as a person, someone capable, intelligent, and interesting. As night deepened, they returned to the settlement. The lights flickered in small homes, the hum of machines continued, and the stars shone above. Ilaria knew that her time with humans had only just begun. What the council thought was a joke might turn out to be something far greater than anyone imagined. And so, the princess who was meant to be laughed at took her first steps in a world. The next morning, Ironfield was already alive with activity. The sun painted the metal roofs and rocky streets in soft orange light. Rylan adjusted his tools on the workshop table, preparing for a long day of repairs. Ilaria was already awake, studying the schematics of a small water purifier. She had spent the night observing the system and noting ways to improve its efficiency. "Good morning," Rylan said, approaching her. His hands were covered in grease, but he moved with careful precision. "You've been busy." Ilaria looked up and gave a small nod. "Yes, I study humans. I learned quickly." Her voice was calm, but there was a hint of pride in her words. Rylan smiled. "Learning is good, but don't overwork yourself. You need rest too." Ilaria glanced at him, her large eyes thoughtful. "Humans often underestimate themselves. You do not always notice your own strengths." Rylan paused, surprised. "Most people don't say that to me, they just laugh at our struggles. They laugh at many things they do not understand," Ilaria said softly. She traced her fingers over the diagrams. "But understanding takes time and attention, and patience." For the next hour, they worked together on the purifier. Rylan adjusted the filters while Ilaria recalculated the energy flow and suggested minor improvements. Slowly, the machine hummed steadily, delivering clean water to the settlement. "You humans find solutions that are creative," Ilaria said quietly, watching the water flow. "Sometimes inefficient, but always determined." "That is admirable," Rylan laughed. "Admirable? Well, I'll take it." But we're just trying to survive here. Ilaria's expression softened. Survival requires intelligence. Strength alone is not enough. You have both. Rylan felt a small warmth in his chest. He had grown used to being underestimated, especially by outsiders. Here was a princess sent as a joke, telling him that he and his people were capable. Later that day, a sudden alarm rang through the settlement. A small fire had broken out near the storage area, likely caused by a malfunctioning energy panel. Humans rushed to contain it, but the flames spread quickly, licking at the metal walls and wooden beams. "Rylan," a worker shouted. "The chemicals are near the fire. We need help." Rylan grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprinted toward the blaze. Ilaria followed closely, her calm expression unchanged. She assessed the situation in seconds, analyzing the safest path to approach the fire without endangering anyone. "Move the chemicals here," she commanded, pointing. "Rylan, use the extinguisher on that side. We must prevent the fire from spreading to the workshop." Rylan followed her instructions. With precision and coordination, they worked together, humans and princess side by side. Sparks flew, smoke filled the air, but they managed to contain the flames before they could destroy the storage area. Breathing heavily, Rylan looked at Ilaria. You're amazing. I didn't think anyone could organize that so fast." Ilaria shrugged lightly. "Observation and calculation. You humans are capable, but you often act without analyzing. Together we succeed." The humans around them stared in awe. This alien princess, sent to mock them, had saved the settlement's supplies and perhaps even their lives. That night, Rylan and Ilaria sat on the edge of the settlement, watching the twin moons rise over the hills. The air was cool, filled with the scent of metal and dust and the quiet hum of the machines in the distance. "You're different from what I expected," Rylan said softly. "The council made it sound like you were a joke. But you're not." Ilaria looked at him, her gaze steady. "I am not what they say I am. I never was. They do not understand humans, and they do not understand me. Perhaps we are both underestimated." Rylan smiled. "Underestimated? I like that. I've spent my life proving people wrong. Seems like you do too." For the first time, there was no tension between them. They were simply two beings learning from each other. They shared stories of their lives. Rylan spoke of his childhood in Ironfield, of broken machines and long nights fixing them. Ilaria spoke of Zirian, of the council's expectations, of the pressure to be perfect. "You are very brave," Rylan said. "I would not have been able to face the council like you do." Ilaria shook her head. "Bravery is not always visible. I do what I must. Humans, your courage is different. You risk everything to protect others. That is admirable too." Days turned into weeks. Ilaria began to assist in more areas of the settlement, engineering, farming, and even teaching children about the stars. The humans slowly warmed to her. They respected her knowledge and admired her calm strength. Rylan noticed subtle changes in himself too. He felt proud of his people, proud that the princess, meant as a joke, chose to work alongside them. He also began to feel something he had not expected, a deep connection to Ilaria. Her presence was comforting, and her understanding of humans made him see his own abilities differently. One afternoon, a strange noise echoed across the settlement. A small band of scavengers from a nearby asteroid outpost had arrived, demanding food and supplies. They were aggressive, expecting the humans to give up without a fight. Rylan and the settlement guards prepared to defend their home, but Ilaria stepped forward. "Stop," she commanded, her voice firm and unyielding. The scavengers froze, surprised by the authority in her tone. "You come to take from humans," she continued, "but they are strong. They work together. You will not succeed." The leader of the scavengers sneered. "And who are you to tell us what we can or cannot take?" Ilaria's eyes glowed faintly in the sunlight. "I am the Princess of Zirian, and I have chosen to stand with them. Leave now or face consequences." Rylan and the guards positioned themselves beside her, ready for defense. The scavengers hesitated. Humans had a reputation for resilience, but an alien princess defending them was something unexpected. After a tense moment, the scavenger leader barked orders, and they retreated, grumbling and clearly defeated. The humans cheered, and Rylan looked at Ilaria with awe. "You saved us." "Again," he said quietly. Ilaria shook her head. "I did not save you alone. You humans are strong. You protect what matters. I only stood with you. That is what makes the difference." That night, Rylan and Ilaria sat by the fire. The stars stretched endlessly above them, and the hum of the settlement's machines created a steady rhythm. "You see humans as capable," Rylan said. "Do you ever regret being sent here?" Ilaria considered for a moment. "I do not regret it. The council intended a joke, yes, but I have learned much. Humans are clever, brave, and inspiring, and I have learned more about myself than I could have on Zirian." Rylan nodded. "I feel the same. I thought humans were just surviving, struggling. But now it's seeing you working together. It feels like we can do anything." For a moment there was silence. Neither spoke, yet both understood a growing bond between them, a mix of respect, trust, and something more subtle, more personal. Ilaria looked out toward the settlement. She thought about the council and their expectations. They believed she would fail. They believed the humans would be humiliated. They were wrong. She had discovered courage in humans, strength in herself, and a connection that could not be predicted. Rylan reached out, gently resting a hand on the back of hers. She did not pull away. Instead, she allowed the small contact, understanding that it symbolized trust, a bridge between two very different beings. The night grew deeper, and the twin moons of Ironfield cast silver light across the settlement. Ilaria's mind was alive with questions. Title: They sent the infertile alien princess to a human as a joke, but she came back with a child. Part 3: The Council's shock. The council chamber on Zirian was alive with anger. Holographic screens flickered with images of Princess Ilaria, standing confidently in Ironfield, working alongside humans. Councilors paced and argued, unable to hide their frustration. "She is thriving," shouted Councilor Rin, slamming a clawed hand on the desk. "We sent her as a joke, and she is winning their respect." Councilor Vela's eyes narrowed. "This cannot be." Our information was clear. She is infertile, inexperienced, and weak compared to our expectations. Yet she walks freely among them, and they treat her as if she were equality. The word burned in their ears. The council had believed humans to be primitive, fragile, and insignificant. Now images showed otherwise. Ilaria had learned their systems, improved their machinery, and even prevented a disaster. Meanwhile in Ironfield, life carried on as usual, or as usual as it could be with the unexpected presence of an alien princess. Rylan adjusted the wiring of a solar array, while Ilaria monitored energy flow from the central control panel. They worked in silence, a comfortable rhythm forming between them. "You have done well," Rylan said finally, stepping back to admire the repaired array. "The humans here will have power for weeks without interruption." I didn't think it was possible." Ilaria shook her head. "It was always possible. Humans need guidance and collaboration. That is all," Rylan laughed. "Guidance, huh? I think you just made us all smarter than we were." Ilaria allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps. But intelligence alone is not enough. Courage and determination are what matter." The night fell quickly, and a gentle wind swept through the settlement. Ilaria stood on the edge of a hill, gazing at the stars while Rylan joined her. "Do you ever think about the council?" Rylan asked quietly. "The ones who sent you here?" Ilaria's eyes narrowed slightly. "I think about their expectations. They assumed failure. They assumed I would obey blindly. They assumed humans would be weak. They are wrong." Rylan nodded. "It's hard to imagine anyone underestimating humans now." Ilaria tilted her head. "Humans are underestimated often. And I was underestimated too. Perhaps it is good. It shows what is possible when one is free to act, without being judged by fear or expectation." Rylan noticed a subtle change in her. Ilaria had always been calm, but now there was a quiet confidence, a certainty in her actions and thoughts. As they spoke, a message arrived from the council. The holographic panel flickered, showing a stern, commanding face. "Princess Ilaria," the voice said, "you are required to return immediately to Zirian. Your performance has not been acceptable. The council demands compliance." Ilaria's eyes narrowed, but she remained composed. "My work here is not complete. The humans are not a joke. I will finish my duties before considering your demands." The councilor's face grew red with anger. "You defy us!" "You refuse direct orders from the council. I refuse to treat humans as a joke," Ilaria said simply. The message ended abruptly. Rylan looked at her. "That didn't go well." Ilaria shook her head. They do not understand courage or choice. I am learning what it means to act with reason, not with fear. The next morning, Ironfield faced a real threat. A band of space scavengers larger and more aggressive than the previous group arrived. They had weapons, drones, and a reputation for destruction. The humans prepared to defend their settlement, but panic was already spreading. Ilaria stepped forward, analyzing the situation. "Rylan," she said, her voice calm but firm, "we must act quickly. The drones can be disabled if we focus on their power sources. Humans can defend the perimeter. I will guide the operation." Rylan nodded, rallying the settlement's defenders. "Everyone, listen to Ilaria. She knows what to do." The battle began. Drones zipped through the air, weapons fired, and humans ducked behind makeshift barriers. Ilaria moved swiftly among them, issuing instructions, calculating angles, and identifying weaknesses. Rylan followed her, covering her from hostile fire. Together they guided the humans, combining alien knowledge with human resourcefulness. Slowly the tide turned. Drones fell, scavengers were pushed back, and the settlement's defenses held. When the last drone crashed to the ground, silence fell over the settlement. Humans looked around, exhausted but proud. Rylan turned to Ilaria, panting. "You did it," he said. "We all did it." "Because of you?" Ilaria shook her head. "No, because of all of us. Humans are capable, clever, and brave. I only stood beside you." But as the adrenaline faded, Ilaria felt something strange. A subtle warmth. A flutter she had never felt before. It was not fear, excitement, or danger. It was life, something within her body, unexpected and impossible according to Zirion's records. Later, in the quiet of the settlement, Ilaria sat with Rylan. She spoke softly, hesitant, but curious. "Rylan, something has changed. I may not be infertile?" Rylan froze, staring at her. You mean..." Ilaria nodded slowly. "It is impossible according to the council. But my body? It feels different. I sense a new possibility." Rylan reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. "Ilaria, that could be incredible. It could be dangerous too," she whispered. "The council would never understand. They would punish me. Or worse." Rylan shook his head firmly. "They won't decide for us. Not here, not anymore. We will handle this together. I trust you." Ilaria's eyes softened. "Then we will face it together. I am not sure what will come, but I know I am ready to protect it. And them." Days passed, and the bond between Ilaria and Rylan grew stronger. They trained together, built new defenses, and improved the settlement's technology. The humans began to respect Ilaria not as a princess or a novelty, but as a leader and a friend. Meanwhile, the council grew more furious. Their reports showed the princess thriving, humans growing stronger, and even small colonies nearby sending messages of curiosity and admiration for Ironfield. Councillor Rin slammed his claws on the desk. "She defies us at every step. She is undermining everything." Councillor Vela hissed. "We sent a fragile, infertile child as a joke. She is making them stronger, smarter, and independent. We cannot allow this to continue." But Ilaria had already made her decision. She would not return to Zirion, not yet and perhaps never. She had discovered courage, trust, and connection in humans. And now something more personal, something forbidden by council expectations, was growing within her. One evening, Rylan and Ilaria walked along the settlement's perimeter. The stars shimmered above and the wind carried the smell of dust and metal. "Do you ever regret coming here?" Rylan asked softly. Ilaria shook her head. "No, I have learned too much. I have seen strength in humans, courage in action, and possibility in myself. This place, this life, is worth more than the council's expectations." Rylan smiled. "I feel the same. You've changed everything for us." "For me?" Ilaria looked at him, her expression unreadable but gentle. "And you have changed things for me. You showed me humans are not weak, and you showed me trust can exist between very different beings." As they stood under the twin moons, a quiet understanding passed between them. The council had underestimated both humans and the princess, and now that mistake would have consequences they could never predict. For Ilaria, the discovery of her body's hidden potential was both a shock and a gift. She was no longer just a pawn, a joke, or a test. She was a being capable of change, choice, and life itself. Rylan squeezed her hand gently. "Whatever comes next, we face it together. Ilaria nodded, feeling a mix of fear, excitement, and hope. The council thought they had sent a fragile princess to humiliate humans. Instead, they had unknowingly sent a catalyst for something extraordinary. A bond. A future, and perhaps the beginning of a miracle. And in Ironfield, among the rocks and metal buildings, the princess who was supposed to fail stood stronger than ever, ready to shape her destiny, and the destiny of those around her. The wind swept across the hills surrounding Ironfield as Princess Ilaria stood at the edge of the settlement. The twin moons of the outer rim cast pale light on the metal rooftops and rocky ground. In her hands she held a small device that allowed her to monitor distant signals. She had sensed something, a message from Zirian, one she did not want to see. The council had sent an envoy. They were coming not to negotiate but to reclaim her. They expected compliance, a reminder that she was still a princess under their control. But Ilaria's mind was already made up. She would not return, not now. Not ever. Rylan approached her quietly. "They're coming," he said softly. "We need a plan." Ilaria nodded. "Yes, we cannot fight them openly. Too many of their ships, too much power. We must use intelligence, not force." Rylan frowned. "What do you mean?" "They will underestimate humans," Ilaria replied, her eyes shining. "They always do. But humans are clever, and we are clever together. We will protect Ironfield, and we will protect what is coming." Rylan understood immediately. He had noticed subtle changes in Ilaria over the past weeks, changes that were impossible according to the Council's records. Something new, something alive had begun within her. "They cannot take you," Rylan said firmly. "Not now. Not ever." Ilaria smiled faintly. "Then we prepare." Over the next days, the settlement buzzed with activity. Humans worked tirelessly, guided by Ilaria's knowledge and strategy. They reinforced buildings, created decoys, and designed traps. Rylan coordinated the efforts, making sure the human defenses were strong, yet subtle enough not to provoke the envoy too early. Despite the looming threat, there was a quiet joy in the settlement. Ilaria moved among the people, teaching, encouraging, and helping wherever she could. She shared knowledge of alien energy systems, showing humans how to make their machines more efficient. In return, she learned more about human resilience, ingenuity, and courage. One night, Rylan found Ilaria sitting alone, gazing at the stars. The air was cool and the distant hum of machinery filled the quiet. "You're thinking about them," Rylan said gently. Ilaria nodded. "Yes, they will not understand what is happening. They will see it as failure or rebellion. But this is life, something they cannot control or predict." Rylan crouched beside her. "Life, you mean the child?" Ilaria's eyes softened. "Yes, I did not expect it. I did not believe it possible. But now I know it is real, and I must protect it." Rylan reached out, taking her hand in his. "We will protect it. I promise. No council, no army, nothing will take this from us." Ilaria looked at him, and for the first time she allowed herself a small smile of hope. Together they were stronger than any council could imagine. The next morning, scouts reported the arrival of the Zirian envoy. A small fleet hovered above the settlement, their sleek ships glinting in the sunlight. The council's emissaries were confident, arrogant, expecting obedience. They would find neither. Ilaria and Rylan gathered the settlement leaders. "The council believes they can take me," she said. "They are wrong. We will protect this place and everything within it. They will leave without achieving their goal." Rylan addressed the humans. "We've trained for this. We've prepared. Follow Ilaria's instructions and we will succeed. They think we're weak. Let's show them they are wrong." The envoy sent a message demanding Ilaria's immediate return. She replied calmly, "I am not returning. I am protecting this settlement, and nothing you do will change that." The council's ships descended, but they moved cautiously. They expected surrender, not resistance. Ilaria had planned for this. Decoys, traps, and human ingenuity made the fleet hesitate. Each move the council made was countered before it could succeed. Rilan worked alongside Ilaria, directing humans to exploit the weaknesses in the enemy formation. The envoy had underestimated both the humans and the princess. What they saw as a primitive settlement was a fortress of cleverness and strategy. Hours passed. The council sent stronger ships, thinking force would succeed where strategy had failed. But Ilaria's mind was quick, calculating energy flows, predicting movement, and guiding humans to disrupt the enemy without direct confrontation. Then, a smaller battle group attempted to land troops on the surface. Ilaria was ready. She had designed an energy barrier using recycled alien tech and human generators. The barrier shimmered into existence just as the troops approached, forcing them back and preventing any damage to the settlement. Rylan shouted, "It's holding! Keep pushing them back!" Humans followed her instructions perfectly. They were no longer afraid, no longer unsure. They moved with precision, using their own strengths and Ilaria's guidance to outmaneuver the superior forces. The council watched from their command screens, astonished. "How is this possible?" Counselor Rin shouted. "She should have failed. She cannot command humans this way." "Humans are unpredictable," Counselor Vela hissed. "And she is clever beyond measure." This was a mistake. Back on the ground, the battle continued, but Ilaria's calm, steady presence inspired everyone. Even the children of the settlement watched from behind barriers, their eyes wide with wonder. They saw a princess not as a figure to fear, but as a protector, a teacher, and a friend. Finally, after hours of careful maneuvering, the council's fleet withdrew. Their pride and arrogance had been shattered. They could not take the princess, could not harm the settlement, and could not understand the bond between humans and Ilaria. The humans erupted in celebration. Rylan lifted Ilaria into his arms, and the settlement cheered. She had not only survived, but had turned what was meant to be humiliation into triumph. Later, in the quiet of the evening, Ilaria felt the first real signs of her pregnancy. It was subtle but undeniable. A warmth, a small pulse of life, something she had never felt before. She placed a hand on her stomach, amazed and frightened at the same time. Rylan knelt beside her, his eyes gentle. "It's real," he whispered. "The council was wrong. You are not infertile, and this is proof." Ilaria nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "Yes, proof of possibility. Proof that they cannot control everything. Proof that humans and we can create something new." They sat together, holding hands, feeling the quiet miracle that had begun. The council had sent her as a joke, expecting humiliation. Instead, she had returned as a protector, a leader, and soon a mother. The settlement celebrated not only their survival, but also the beginning of something extraordinary. Humans had faced superior forces and triumphed, guided by a princess who saw their true strength. And in Ilaria, a new life was growing, one that would forever change the destiny of both species. That night, Rylan and Ilaria stood together, looking up at the stars. The council had underestimated humans, underestimated Ilaria, and underestimated what was possible when courage, intelligence, and trust came together. "We did it," Rylan said quietly. "Yes," Ilaria replied, "but this is only the beginning. There is more to protect, more to learn, and more to live for." And in that quiet moment beneath the twin moons, they knew the council's joke had failed completely. From what was meant to be humiliation, a new bond, a new life, and a new hope had emerged. One that no one, not even the council, could take away. The settlement of Ironfield glowed under the twin moons as Princess Ilaria stood outside her small quarters. She held her stomach gently, feeling the life growing inside her. The Council of Xerion had sent envoys again, hoping this time they could enforce their will. But Ilaria's confidence had grown with every day she spent with humans. She knew the Council underestimated both her and the humans, and now, the stakes were higher than ever. Rylan approached, carrying a bag of supplies. His eyes softened as he looked at her. "How are you feeling today?" Ilaria smiled faintly. "Stronger. The child grows steadily. I feel life in a way I have never known before." Rylan knelt beside her. "It's incredible. I can't believe they thought this would be a joke." Ilaria shook her head. They did not see humans for what they are. They did not see the bond that can form when trust and courage exist. Rylan reached out, holding her hand firmly. "They will see it soon enough, and the galaxy will see it too." The days passed and preparations began in earnest. Humans reinforced the settlement further, making sure that no attack from Xerion or anyone else could harm them. Ilaria guided the designs of new structures, blending alien technology with human ingenuity. The settlement was becoming not just a home, but a fortress, a symbol of what humans could achieve when united. As the day of the Council's arrival approached, tension mixed with excitement. The people of Ironfield whispered in wonder at the presence of the princess who had defied her rulers, protected them, and carried new life within her. They no longer saw her as a distant figure. They saw her as one of their own, a symbol of hope and courage. Finally, the Council's fleet arrived. Sleek ships blocked the sky, their energy shields glowing with authority and power. Xerion's envoys demanded Ilaria return immediately. "I will not go," Ilaria's voice rang out across the settlement. "I will stay to protect this place and the life I carry. Nothing you do will change that." Rylan stood beside her, flanked by the settlement defenders. "You cannot take her," he said firmly. "She is one of us now, and we will protect her no matter what." The Council sent emissaries to negotiate, but Ilaria and Rylan's unity and the settlement's preparedness left them no leverage. The humans had learned, adapted, and grown. Their strength was no longer in numbers alone, but in strategy, intelligence, and courage. And then a quiet moment changed everything. Ilaria felt a sudden, strong movement within her. The life she carried responded to the energy of the settlement, to the courage of the humans, and to the bond she shared with Rylan. "It's time," she whispered. Rylan's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" Ilaria nodded. "Yes, the child is coming. We must protect it at all costs." The settlement rallied around her. Makeshift medical equipment, combined with alien technology, was prepared. Humans held her hands, offered encouragement, and followed Ilaria's instructions carefully. The labor was intense. Ilaria's strength, her alien physiology, and the careful preparation allowed her to endure. Rylan remained by her side, offering quiet words of support, holding her hand and never leaving her alone. Finally, after hours of effort, a cry echoed through the settlement. A small life, a combination of human and alien, filled the air with its first sound. The humans around them gasped in awe. The Council's predictions had been shattered. Ilaria, thought infertile, had brought new life into the galaxy. The child was healthy, strong, and alive, a symbol of what was possible when courage, trust, and unity came together. Rylan held the child carefully, looking at Ilaria with tears in his eyes. We did it," he whispered. Ilaria smiled, exhausted, but radiant. "Yes, this is a beginning, not an end, a future we could not have imagined." The Council's envoys watched in stunned silence from their ships. They had come expecting compliance, mockery, and failure. Instead, they had witnessed something extraordinary. A princess who defied their orders, humans who were clever and brave, and a new life that represented hope, unity, and possibility. Councillor Rin muttered angrily, "This is impossible. She cannot be fertile. Humans, they cannot be this strong." Councillor Vela shook her head. We underestimated everything, the princess, the humans, and life itself. Meanwhile, the people of Ironfield celebrated quietly, but joyfully. They had survived threats far beyond their expectations, guided by the wisdom of an alien princess who had chosen to stand with them. And now they had witnessed a miracle, proof that courage and determination could create something new, something extraordinary. Days passed. The settlement adapted to the new reality, caring for Ilaria and the child. Humans built new homes, reinforced old ones, and shared responsibilities. Rylan became the protector, the teacher, and the father figure who ensured both Ilaria and the child were safe. The council eventually withdrew, realizing that no force, no decree, and no arrogance could undo what had happened. The princess had chosen her path, and the humans had earned their respect. Ilaria held her child one quiet evening. The small life squirmed gently in her arms, its eyes reflecting both human and alien traits. She looked at Rylan, her partner, her friend, and her ally. "This child will change the galaxy," she whispered. "They will see that humans are capable and that life can defy expectations." Rylan smiled, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "And we will be here to guide it, protect it, and show them what is possible." Together, they watched the stars stretch across the sky. Ironfield was no longer a small, insignificant settlement. It had become a beacon of hope, a symbol of what courage, intelligence, and trust could achieve. The council may have sent Ilaria as a joke, believing they could humiliate a human and a princess alike. Instead, they had created a story that would be told for generations, a story of defiance, intelligence, courage, and love. The humans of Ironfield had proven their worth to the galaxy. They had survived threats, embraced challenges, and grown stronger with guidance and unity. And from the union of human and alien, a new life had emerged, a child who represented the impossible, the extraordinary, and the unstoppable. As the twin moons rose above the settlement, Ilaria whispered to the child, "You are our future. You are proof that courage, trust, and love can overcome anything." Rylan held both of them close, feeling the warmth of hope, pride, and a bond that could never be broken. Together they had turned a council's joke into a legacy that would endure across the stars. The galaxy would remember this moment. The princess who was thought infertile had returned, not with failure but with life, and humans, resilient, clever, and brave, had stood beside her. In that quiet, glowing settlement, a new chapter had begun. One where humans and aliens could coexist, create, and thrive. One where courage and intelligence mattered more than arrogance and power. And one where the smallest life, a child born against expectation, would forever remind the galaxy of what was truly possible. Ironfield would grow, humans would rise, and the Council of Zirion would learn too late that they had underestimated both the princess and the humans. For now, though, under the stars and the twin moons, all that mattered was the warmth in Ilaria's arms, the pride in Rylan's eyes, and the quiet miracle that would shape the future of the galaxy.